Everyone, and happy Sunday. We are here to talk about the heat and the storms. Today, of course, is a day where we've been talking about this for a while now, where we want you to stay weather aware due to the fact that we have storm potential upwards of about, heat potential that is around about 105 degrees, plus the storms returning this afternoon as well. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch kind of day. The hottest time is in the middle part of the afternoon. So around about 3, 4 o'clock is normally where we hit our peak heating of the day around this time of year. Sometimes that can be even later around 5 p.m. And then the storm's really starting to blow up around that same time frame. So heat indices near about 105, plus we have strong to severe thunderstorms. So again, kind of a 1-2 punch type of day. If you're trying to get outside and do any kind of, grocery shopping, things like that, try to get that done earlier, especially before about 3 o'clock. And if you're trying to, walk the pup, get outside and maybe even take a walk yourself, I would try to do that probably later on, maybe after about 8 o'clock, once those storms have wrapped up, once the sun's starting to go down. So the main time frame again that we want you to stay weather aware between about 3 and about 8 o'clock. Hot sky conditions, of course, will be partly to mostly sunny at times, and eventually, once the storms start to develop, we'll see darkening skies this afternoon. Now, today is really the last day that we're going to see this storm potential and this heat potential before some really nice days coming up. So, it's unfortunate that we kind of see this peak, but it's coming with a big drop afterwards. So we have some better weather on the horizon, and that's the good news. Nice and dry out there right now. We did have some showers earlier, though, out in the mountains, and actually some torrential rain in portions of Ashe and Watauga County. So if you are heading out early this morning in either of those counties and you do encounter some slick spots on the roadways, know one, that that's fresh rain, and two, try to give yourself a little bit of extra time. So let's time out some of the rain. We will see a few pockets of heavy downpours in a few areas right around lunchtime. But again, that's just going to be mainly isolated. And when I mean by isolated or spotty rain and storms, that's like when we have 1 or 2 storms up in the mountains, but then not anything else until you get to the Piedmont. But again, we're going to see those become a little bit more numerous around about 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And it's between about 3 p.m. all the way toward about 8 p.m. that we'll see your best chance for showers and storms. Main threats here: gusty winds in excess of 60 miles per hour, heavy rain that could lead to some localized flooding. We are in a flash drought. So if you're hearing that, don't think I'm crazy. Anytime that you see saturated ground, yes, that can cause flash flooding, but I'm not talking about flash flooding. I'm talking about localized flooding, because even though the ground is dry, you never want to see a lot of rain in a short period of time. It can still cause flooding even when we need a lot of rain, because the ground just cannot handle that much in a short period of time. So just be mindful of that as you're kind of planning your day, that even if we do see heavy rain, even though we need it, we could still see some localized flooding in a few spots. If you know that your neighborhood, has poor drainage and you're prone to flooding typically, when we get this afternoon downpours, just be aware of that. Most of the rain will wrap up by early Monday morning. I'm still leaving in a 20% chance for the early part of the day, so you may encounter a brief shower on your morning commute, but most areas are dry as we hit the afternoon hours. And again, that drier air mixes in, the dew point starts to drop. It is really going to be a beautiful and fantastic afternoon. So again, your main impacts: gusty winds, heavy rain. We will see lightning. Of course, there are thunderstorms. That's what makes them thunderstorms, is the lightning, and some small hail. That's about pea to penny sized. Small hail develops when we see high updrafts, but they're not high enough to develop large, bigger hailstones. So again, small hail, pea to penny size, but that is not our largest threat. And thankfully, we're not worried about any kind of rotating storms with these showers and storms today. So let's switch gears here from the heat and, of course, the storms, and let's talk about what's going on in the tropics. We have a hurricane to talk about. In the last 24 hours, we've gone from a tropical storm, Beryl, up to major hurricane Beryl. Beryl is currently a Category 3 major hurricane with sustained winds of 115 miles per hour. It is beelining toward the Windward Islands. Those are the southern Caribbean islands, that kind of looks like a little comma shape. And right now, a hurricane warning is in effect for places like Barbados, St. Martin, St. Lucia, and could bring some devastating impacts for those islands as it makes landfall potentially, or at least close to a direct hit, heading into the early part of Monday morning. And could be even stronger before it gets there, around about 130 miles per hour, which would make it a Category 4 hurricane. Rapid intensification happens when you have more than 35 miles per hour increase in winds within 24-hour period, and it has had well more than that over the last 24 hours. So a really significant, a strong hurricane increase over the last 24 hours, and it will beeline and kind of make its way through the Caribbean over the next 5 days and eventually head into the Western Caribbean and near the Yucatan Peninsula by Friday. It looks to maintain hurricane status as it does so, but likely will encounter a little bit of land as it does move that way, and so it could weaken it at least to a Category 1 or 2. Where it goes from there, still too early to know. If you're from the Carolinas, you live in the Carolinas now, you know how hurricane season goes. It's too early to know past 5 days, but we, of course, will continue to keep an eye on it. Any storm that ever goes toward the Gulf of Mexico is one that I keep an eye on. And, of course, anyone in the United States definitely keeps an eye on. So we certainly will do so. There are two other areas of interest that we're watching. One that's currently in the southern Gulf of Mexico that does have a medium chance of development. It's kind of been hanging out for a few days now, so we'll keep an eye on that one, but I'm not looking at a significant impact or really impact at all, potentially in the Carolinas at this point. From that one. But the one I'm really watching is actually still in the central part of the Atlantic Ocean. It's a tropical wave that moved off the coast a little bit earlier this week. High chance of development. I think that one is more likely to become a tropical storm or Hurricane Chris. That is our next storm name on the list. And of course, we'll have to wait and see where that system goes. But that's kind of the next one that is making its way off to the west. So we'll watch both of these areas of interest and let you know what happens with both of them. So let's look at the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, which kind of encompasses the entirety of the week. We are still keeping you weather aware today for kind of a 1-2 punch of both the heat and humidity and the chance of showers and thunderstorms. Again, you can see I kept in that 20% chance of rain for tomorrow morning, and will dry out through the afternoon. Highs only in the upper 80s. Tuesday's the best day of the week with drier air. Highs in the mid 80s. And then we're actually keeping you weather aware again as we get closer to Independence Day. Those 3 days, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're looking at highs back in the mid to upper 90s. And as we look closer at the dew points and the amount of moisture in the atmosphere, if you add in the humidity levels plus how hot it is going to be for those 3 days, we're looking at above average heat and humidity again. I know you guys might be looking at me like I'm crazy thinking it's 4th of July, it's always hot and humid. This is still above average heat and humidity. It was not this hot and humid last year or the past 2 4th of Julys that I've been here. We're talking mid to upper 90s with feels like numbers, probably close to about 105, 106 again, which would mean potentially 3 days in a row of heat advisory. So definitely something we're keeping an eye on. Right now, I'm only looking at the 4th, 5th, and 6th. It looks like the 7th, we would still see feels like numbers in the 100s, but probably be below that heat advisory criteria. So we'll continue to keep you weather aware throughout the day. Of course, KJ Jacobs will be back this evening as we talk about that chance for scattered showers and storms becoming strong to severe. And download the WCNC Charlotte mobile app if you want to keep an eye on the forecast and keep updated on the go. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you back here. Trying to remember. Oh, I'm filling in for Brad on the 4th of July and the 5th. So I'll see you back here on WCNC Charlotte at 4, 5, 6, and 11 on Thursday and Friday. Bye, everybody.